You've seen the title of this video, allow me to explain. November is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. It's a month in which we're supposed to talk about men's mental health, their struggles, and bring it to light to get more people involved into it and more resources funneled into programs. I'm saying supposed because that's not how it is currently. Allow me to explain. This is Movember. It is the single largest organization for men's mental health in the entire world. You may not have heard of it before, but they primarily operate via donations from multiple supporters. But today I'm going to show you the dark side of it. As you can see here, their website for information if you want to stop the video and look. Less than 15% of every single pound you donate to Movember actually goes to men's mental health when it comes to the UK branch. And that is just the UK branch. Last year, Movember Europe, the European branch, raised 21.7 million pounds from donations in the UK. Keep that in mind. However, only 7.4 million pounds was spent on men's mental health program. And that's just 3.1 in the UK. So less than half of it was spent on mental health in the UK. If we take the 23-24 figures, we can see that 21 million pounds was spent by going from public donations in the UK. However, we can see that only 3.1 million was spent in the UK for mental health men's program, which is less than 15%. So as it's put here by the Tin Men, only 15% of what you give to Movember actually goes to men's mental health in the UK. By the way, when it comes to this data, you can thank the Tin Man on Reddit that I found, and he's the one who put all of this data together, who was able to make it readable. So all the thanks goes to him. Go check him out. So here you can see that every single donation that you make to Movember goes to a reserve to be stocked. It is not actually used. And as the latest part of this report, all this money is up to 61.84 million pounds. On top of that, you can see that the money that is sent from British donors is actually sent back to Australia, where the foundation origins from, to be donated. And on the report, you can see that up to 1.68 million pounds were sent back to Australia to unknown figures. And when it comes to the Movember Europe trustees, you can see that 7 out of 9 of them reside in Australia. So that it's not even surprising when it comes to the amount of money that is sent back there. And none of them live in the UK. The Movember Europe branch has no member living in the UK. Not a single one. Now, however, I will say that it is not uncommon for charities to keep onto cash that is sent to them as a reserve in case activities stops or have to stop because donations do not keep coming. That is a common measure, let's say. However, when it comes to Movember, that is not at all what is going on. And here you can look at the cash reserves average, and you can directly see that Movember is far superior to the average when it comes to cash reserve, which is of about 6 months for a cash reserve. That is generally recommended. However, when looking at the graph, you can see that they are well past a year, which is insane because the graph doesn't even show you the full extent of what they're holding on to. So that's put it into perspective how much money they're actually holding on to. When looking at the spending specifically, you can see that the Movember programs totaled to 14.7 million pounds, 7 of which were annual spending on men's mental health programs, and the rest were Movember staff, support, and marketing. So 50% of the total Movember program spending went to marketing and etc. And even another third, you can say, went to Movember staff and marketing even, from the fundraising. And that, the total of this is even less than the total cash reserves that I showed you earlier, which totaled to 60.84 million. So basically, they're not even spending even anything close to a total capacity on men's mental health like they should. But to really drive home how evil, yes, evil is the term for this foundation, they are, I'm going to show you even more evidence when it comes to Movember's wrongdoings, when it comes to men's mental health. Here's an article from Bettina Arndt, who's also a YouTuber, so go check her out. She's gathered an amazing amount of data for this. Anyway, back to the article. Here we've got a quote of the CEO of Movember when she's boasting about raising $1.1 billion over all the 20 years of Movember's existence, during which she amassed up to 6 million supporters. She raised $1.1 billion. That is absolutely ridiculous for charity, absolutely ridiculous. But what is bothering me the most, rather, is the fact that she is working directly with UN Women. And for those of you who do not know, UN Women is one of the most misandrist anti-men organization there is, possibly because they contribute in the erasure of men's suffering through the suppressing of stats, which shows men suffering all across the world. And I can show you an example of their general philosophy. Here you've got the leader of UN Women, Simba Bahous, who said last October, as Hurricane Melissa made landfall in the Caribbean, our thoughts are with women and girls affected. Notice the phrasing, which is absolutely deliberate. It's very deliberate because, as you know, the hurricane didn't have only women and girls victims. There were quite a lot of men affected, but you know, this is just standard procedure for UN Women. And this is the type of organization that Movember works with, by the way. To be more clear, this collaboration with UN Women amounts to a series of commitments from Movember to promote quote-unquote healthy masculinities, which I don't even know what this actually means, it's just a buzzword, to actually police men's masculinity and their toxic quote-unquote masculinity. Thierry Michel, which is the name of the CEO of Movember, also promised to implement inclusive hiring, including mentorship program for women and maintaining gender parity. This is about a group supposed to be helping men, by the way. And it is the largest in the world. Keep that in mind. Here's the leadership group, by the way. As you can see, it's the overwhelming majority of it are women. Vast majority of it. There's only a handful of men in it. And what literally strikes me is the fact that it is considered okay for the single largest charity for men in the world to be vastly directed by women. Do you imagine the reverse? Like, if the single largest charity organization in the world for women was vastly manned by men, in the leadership position nonetheless, do you imagine the outrage? But because it's men, nobody cares, basically. It's considered acceptable and even encouraged, as you can see. Here's a chart of members' expenditures. What we're going to focus on is the blue line, aka the prostate and testicular cancer research. As you can see, as soon as 2020, it started declining and kept declining up until 2023, where the graph ends. So basically, that also coincides with the year where the new CEO, Michel Terry, started making adjustment to the team's composition, as I showed you earlier. Incidentally, we can also see a rise when it comes to the spending of men's suicide prevention, but I'm going to show you in a minute why this is misleading and is even worse than your original thought. Because even though they raised the budget for men's suicide and mental health program, they are working in a way that it is completely ineffective. For example, Movember is supporting in the tune of 2.35 million the Wayback Suicide Prevention Service, which is run by Beyond Blue, a charity tackling depression organization. The problem with this, however, is that while 3 in 4 suicides involve men, 60% of the people helped by Wayback are actually women. That means that whenever you donate money to Movember, which doesn't even reach the actual programs that are for men's mental health for the most part, the money that does is helping actually women instead of men. So they're not even doing what they're supposed to do properly. Instead, here is a list of charity, once again gathered by the Tin Man, all credits to him, which are actually reliable and on which you can count to serve men's mental health. So don't hesitate to contact them if you intend to make a donation. This is about the end of this video, so in short, do not donate to Movember when in November or when it comes to any cause about men's mental health. See ya.